Welcome to DFS Insights. I'm David Geislinger, and I'm joined by my cousin, David Grant Jr.
Yes, sir. I have returned.
And the teams up on the block are the Los Angeles Lakers at the Los Angeles Clippers.
This is where each of us are going to be giving you our three key players to focus on while you're going to be creating all of your lineups. David and I are going to give you a quick breakdown of what we like about our three main plays. And stay tuned till the end where we're going to give out two completely free lineups.
Nice. And yes, definitely welcome back. I know you wanted to be here, especially since it was, we've been talking about doing a Kings breakdown and,
I know, right?
Obviously, life happens. So moving on to, it's been a while since we covered the Lakers or the Clippers. It seems like we cover every game of theirs. So, yeah, so that makes us even, a more reliable source as we have literally covered them way too much. So with that, the Lakers are still sitting pretty low, 9th in the West. They're 6-4 in their last 10, and then currently on a one-game losing streak. Where the Clippers are sitting 4th in the West, 7-3 in their last 10, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. One gets the Kings. Let's do it. Yeah, obviously, some big factors in this are the injury tags, I should say. AD, LeBron, game time decisions, no news there really. It says Anthony Davis's game time decision with an illness. He's very probable, so I think he'll play. LeBron has his little ankle injury. I think he's more than likely will play this matchup. Continue on with the Lakers. Cam Reddish is also a game time decision. It looks like he's been practicing for the last 14 days, so they're saying he could see some time, possibly against the Clippers, probably on a minute restriction, barring any setbacks they mentioned. But the definitive outs, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, Colin Castleton, and Jared Vanderbilt, which they've been out several games now, so no news there. And Clippers are overall healthy with the exception of Paul George is out for his second game in a row. So anything else to add about just the overall general breakdown? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Clippers are actually favored in this matchup. If you want to do it while I quickly look here.
Yeah, I want to say they're favored by like 4 or 5, I believe. And again, that line's going to change as soon as we know for sure if LeBron's playing. I mean, that's kind of a big part there. I personally think LeBron's playing. They're on the front end of a back-to-back, and the Knicks game is against Washington at home, and Washington has only 9 wins, along with the Detroit Pistons. So this is a much, more needed game for LeBron to be playing in. So I highly see him, if he's going to take one of the games off, would be the next game, and I could see him playing this game. For sure.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, I don't know how many games he can take off. It's just crazy. But if his ankle is actually hurting, then yeah, get healthy. See you in the playoffs.
They're right there on the bubble. They're at the 10 spot, with the play-in. So, it's pretty crucial. He plays in as many games as he can. That's for sure.
Yeah,
get there.
All right. Well, let's see if he makes the cut in our players here. So moving on over, to our player breakdown. I'll let you, since you are coming back, I'll let you go ahead and start it off here with your first player.
All right. My first player is going to be Mr. Kawhi Leonard. With Paul George being out, that's obviously huge. Both of these teams have already played each other twice. They played once in January. Actually, I'm sorry. They played twice in January. They played January 7th where the Lakers didn't have LeBron James. I'm sorry, sorry, January 7th, they did have LeBron James, and they won that game 103-106. And then they played January 23rd without LeBron James, and the Clippers did not have Zubats, and the Clippers won 127-116. Both of those games, Paul George was in, and he's obviously a major factor with everything, with offense, with defense. He's one of the best two-way players in the league. I think with him going out, that's going to fall a lot on Kawhi Leonard. When Zubats was out, Kawhi had a triple-double. He played 38 minutes, had 25 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds. And so I could definitely see, increased usage with him. And I can see him taking on more offensive responsibilities. So, he's going to be the primary option for scoring. He could get some extra assists. Obviously, the usage increase. He's going to be their main playmaker, typically as usual on the floor, just with added stuff with Paul George out. So, 14-5, and with his upside of 60 plus, him at the MVP, not going the 16,000 Anthony Davis. Even LeBron is 15,000. So I think he'll be a lower owned MVP guy, and that's my first pick. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't go wrong with Kawhi. Definitely will have him, in that upper tier MVP star. Pro would be more of the ownership play there.
Sure.
So, yeah, just looking back at, Sacramento, the game Paul George was out, 35 minutes, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 46 fantasy points. So that, that is a solid game. His ownership in that game was about 23% MVP, 31% star, and 9% pro. So that kind of gives you the point. He was also at a 14.5 salary in that game. So that kind of gives you the, where you should play him.
But I was also just going to add, when Paul George, the only other game he's missed recently was against Washington. And even though Washington, has the 9 wins, Kawhi played 29 minutes, had 31 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and 4 steals, and no turnovers, and had 62 fantasy points. So the 2 games without Paul George, he's doing extremely well. So I could definitely, the Lakers don't play defense, so I can definitely see him having a great game. So,
I think he's a solid play for sure. It's just where are you going to utilize him?
Where are you going to put?
Yeah, where you're going to utilize him to get the most bang for your buck there, and I will definitely be having him in both spots.
Same here. I mean, I'll have him at MVP and some star. And like you said, if I'm feeling a little frisky, I might put him at pro as an ownership play, just in case, he hits upper 40s, lower 50s, and other guys also go off. That's always a chance. So, all right, who's your first guy up on the block?
First pick is going to be, you talked about him, Zubac here. As you can see here up on the screen, stats for the last 5 games. He's averaging about 27.9 minutes, usage 17.3. I would like that. I go over kind of what I think about this. He's averaging 28.6 fantasy points projected. Tonight's game about 27.9. I really like him in the pro and the flex spot. I think he'll be highly owned in the pro spot, just because these averages are kind of skewed because he was coming off an injury. So he's only really had, it looks about like 2 games where he wasn't on a minute restriction. So he is getting back. He just played 33 minutes, I believe, against Sacramento there. I mean, he did, even with minute restrictions, still have, low to mid 20 minutes and still averaging, decent amounts. So he is a fantasy point per minute guy. As far as maybe throwing him in the star, Looking at his, from his ownership from the Sacramento game, he was 10K, similar to tonight. He was in star, only 1 to 2%. Pro, he was 19.8, and utility flex, he was at 15.6. So I can see him being roughly about the same, if not a little bit more in the pro, because I think he is, fully back. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's that's actually my second pick. So that's something we're on the same page there. You know how I feel. I've been preaching this all season. Bigs against the Lakers. I will play every 98% of bigs against the Lakers always do well. It's not me hating on Anthony Davis's defense. I mean, he still gets blocks, steals, and he's really athletic and does his thing. But at the same time, man, the centers just seem to go off against the Lakers. And, when Zubac did play, he did have 47 fantasy points. And at 10K, now he's not on the minutes restriction. No Paul George. So he's got, no Paul George. So also, there'll be more chances for rebounds with George out, potentially more missed shots, just by the team overall, because now other guys are going to have to step in to take shots who aren't as efficient as Paul George. So he could be underneath there getting some nice rebound putbacks, stuff like that. So at 10K, like you mentioned, I really like him at the pro spot the most. I feel like his ownership at the utility is going to be substantially higher than it was against the Kings, just because of all the other, stars on this slate. We got LeBron, we got Davis, we got James Harden, we got Kawhi Leonard. So, we got D'Angelo Russell. So it'll be, putting him even at the pro spot to me is the good low ownership move. Obviously at star, he's viable and will be, that'll really separate you. But I do think the utility, don't be surprised if he's 28 to 32% owned for sure. So that's my 2 cents on him.
Yeah, he was in Sacramento. He was actually higher owned in the pro. He was at about 20%, whereas flex he was only about 15 and a half.
That's crazy. Yeah, I usually see it it's substantially owned in utility, and then it's a little bit lower in the pro. So the fact it was actually, a little swapped is pretty shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be higher owned, but I think it kind of maybe still maintain that same ratio. He is a fantasy per minute, like you've been saying, beast. So I think even just looking here, game log kind of trolling too. People can see that. So I think people, based on lineup construction at 10K, he's going to probably be a very popular pro spot for sure.
Yeah, it's fair. It's definitely fair.
Yeah, no, I like it. Obviously, we're on the same page there. Moving on to my second pick, we'll switch things up and give Lakers some flowers here. D'Angelo Russell would be my guy from LA here. I like him, in the star pro and flex spot. I believe he's coming in at about 11K. Their last 5 games averaging 34.1 minutes. His usage is pretty nice, 21.8, averaging about 37.4 fantasy, and he's projected roughly about 38.5 for tonight's matchup, or for the matchup against the Clippers here. I like him. He seems to be kind of, he likes that starting role, so I think he's maintaining fairly well. Key notes here is to add where LeBron when LeBron plays, he averages about 37 points, which is his average of the last 5 games. But the 2 games that LeBron didn't play, and that was against Golden State and Utah, he's averaging about 44 fantasy points. So just watch out for that news on LeBron to see if he's playing or not, and you can, give him a little bit more upside if LeBron's not playing, where he typically gets a little bit more usage and points in that aspect. So here I think he's going to be sitting about like 13 to 16% in the star position ownership wise. Pro, he'll probably be about 16 to 20. Flex anywhere from about 5 to 10. That's based on the last 3 games I've kind of been keeping ownership on those. So those are kind of my projection ownership wise with him. But I definitely do like him in this matchup, in the star and pro especially. But I will have him in the flex based on that lineup construction. So what do you think on D'Angelo?
Yeah, definitely. D'Lo, I definitely like D'Lo a lot, regardless of whether LeBron or Davis play. Obviously, if LeBron doesn't play, as you mentioned, his numbers definitely skyrocket. But he's at 11,000 and how well he's been playing. To me, he has to be rostered. And as you mentioned, I could see him being, really more in the pro or the utility spot. But star, he has dropped a 50+ fantasy point game, so that's definitely possible, especially if LeBron's out. The one thing I'll be interested to see. So when LeBron didn't play, he did start. And Cam Reddish came off the bench, and then the game that LeBron was in, Cam Reddish actually started, and Cam Reddish still only played 20 minutes, and D'Lo played 31 minutes. But I mean, D'Lo's been in such a rhythm and everything. I just don't see them breaking that up for Cam to come back and then just be starting. So I really hope they keep D'Angelo starting, but whether he does or not, just know he's going to get more minutes anyway. So either way, he's going to be an effective play, and I'll be rostering him for sure. So I like that. I like that play a lot, for sure.
Nice. All right, well, yeah, good. So moving on here, who is your third pick?
Yeah, I usually don't do this. I usually like to have 2 people from one team and one from the other, or vice versa. But I'm going to be going with my third pick here with Norman Powell at 8,000. And I've been following this guy for a long time. He crushed it on the Raptors. He's been a great 6-man. He's been a great starter whenever he's called upon. It's just like whenever he needs to step in and do something, he typically gets it done. And with no Paul George, I like him more than I like Terrence Mann, even though it's just crazy. Terrence Mann last season, I'd be saying let's go Terrence Mann. But now, with the acquisition of James Harden and Westbrook and everything, it just seems like Mann is just a little more inconsistent. It's either that or it's that Terrence Mann might start and then Powell be the one to come off the bench, and that's even better to have him running with the second unit anyway. No matter whether he starts or he doesn't, I like what he does. His role's obviously going to expand. He's known for his scoring, and basically, he's one of the few guys on the bench that can create his own shot, and I see Terrence Mann being higher owned than Powell, especially at the 8,500. They see the 28th opponent, going against a bottom defensive part there, but you look at Norman Powell and it just says you're going against the 12th ranked. Again, this is just looking at FanDuel, and so by doing that, you can leave some salary on the table and make your lineup here a little bit different. So I really like Norman Powell. That's going to be my third pick. I know I went 3 Clippers, but with Paul George, I'm spitting everywhere. My apologies. With Paul George being out, that's a big hole to fill there. So, what are your thoughts on that? And what's your pick to wrap us up with?
Yeah, no, I like him. The game he was out against Memphis, and then he came back again with Paul George out. He started, ended up with 37 minutes against Sacramento, 21 points, about 28 fantasy points there. So I'm assuming he will obviously get the start again here against the Lakers, probably roughly about the same minute projection. Ownership wise, he was. Basically not owned, obviously an MVP star. He was sub 1%. And then his pro was 4.9%, and his flex was 32.3. Definitely I can see him. If he might now, second game in, be a little bit more comfortable in that starting role. So hopefully, if I want to see him in the pro, he needs at least above 30. I was obviously looking for at least mid 30s fantasy point wise. Kind of how I'm thinking how it's going to pan out. So if I want to have him in that lower ownership spot pro, I need him to produce. So he definitely can. He's a great player, and with Paul George out, it seems like he got basically the bulk of the usage and game time, the minutes, and that's what you need. Yeah, you need the minutes and you need the usage if you're going to get fantasy points. So yeah, no, definitely great pick. And at 8K, he's definitely viable. So
yeah, and with like you mentioned with the ownership, so like let's just assume he's around that 30% mark because people have caught on. He's got the start. They know what's up. You'll see by the lineup at the end here that we give away for free, at least the one that I have. I left 1,500 on the table so that I made some moves elsewhere, and by leaving the 1,500 on the table, you can play a little bit chalkier at 30% down there in the flex and still separate yourself. So that's the approach I'm taking on the free lineup that you guys will be getting here at the end.
Nice.
So, who do you got last?
All right, everybody, don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. So, got Daniel Tice coming in here. You're like, what the heck is this guy thinking? This dude right here, 6K. Yeah, I'm just wanting to point him out as a good value pick. I'm really only kind of doing this because basically Paul George is out. And he did end up getting 14 minutes playing time against Sacramento, his last matchup. I mean, you can see here, his last 5 games, nothing really jumps out as impressive. 9.6 minutes averaging, 15.9 usage, which, is not bad for, the minutes that he's in. He's only averaging 4.7. He's projected about 7.6 fantasy points here. However, against Sacramento, he wasn't the optimal in the single game, getting about 18.7 fantasy points in 14 minutes. He was owned in the flex 0.3%. So that's a huge thing. I'm really, basing this on the 6K value. So if he can get another, 15, 20 point fantasy night here against, the weak, Lakers, going against bigs here. So if he can get those points, that it's going to be an amazing play in your flex spot. Obviously, I don't recommend going above that. That 6K will allow you to, put in, those more upper tier players, and you can, kind of make up those extra points up there. So you can do maybe a Davis James Harden or Davis James, Leonard or something like that. James Leonard Harden with three of those top tier players could have, as long as he can get roughly, 15 to 20 fantasy points. And I like him in this matchup. If he can get those minutes, he's definitely a pretty decent fantasy producer. So.
Yeah, I really like that play. It'll be interesting to see the game flow here. If the game also gets out of control, I could definitely see him, getting some extra time, and then even matchup wise, it could be, he's power forward / center. He's definitely not. That's why it's power forward / center. He's not a true center, and so at that power forward spot, because they have Paul George listed as oh, that's funny. It's shooting guard, small forward. I saw him as small forward, power forward for a while. So
Yeah.
that's interesting that they changed it back. They do always pay attention because they will do that on Fanduel. They'll change some positions up from time to time. But yeah, that's a great play. Especially like you said, it allows you to get the superstars in there and really mix it up and have that super low owned guy down there at the bottom to separate yourself. So great call. I like it.
Nice. All right. Well, all right. Now, let's head over to what everybody's been waiting for, these free lineups. So please make sure you like and subscribe, and we give 2 free lineups every video here. So with that, no more waiting. Here they are. Please also make sure you drop a comment, below and let us know your thoughts on our key players for this matchup. Who are your top picks, and what players do you think might be the game changer? Feel free to ask us any question about any player. We do research on the entire single game slate here, so we could provide any kind of insight that you're looking for. Yeah, and just looking forward to growing this community. So like I said, make sure you like, subscribe. That gets us put out in front of more people. And also make sure you head over to our shorts channel. David and I, we do provide some prize pick prop bets for tonight's matchup. We give you 2 of the best picks on the slate, so that could help you out if you're interested in prize picks at all. And with that, I will send you over to David, and he can send us off here.
Yes, sir. It's going to be should be a great matchup here. Keep your eyes on the injury news. That's obviously key. And again, I think LeBron James will be playing, and then we have Anthony Davis not only with his normal injury, but he's also been sick. So that just means you breathe on the dude wrong. I could see him getting less minutes. I could see him, his shoe coming undone and him exiting the game and maybe not coming back because that's just the type of player he is, unfortunately. But yeah, excited for the game. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys up at the top making that money. You guys have a great night.